Welcome to the dark side of BEASTwriter here in lovely Las Vegas. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we're going to be breaking down the NFL trade deadline is near. If you guys don't know by now, the trade deadline is Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to go ahead and break down what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, and what I'm feeling when it comes to Raiders headquarters. Not all of you guys, obviously, work there or are there 9 to 5. And so that's why you guys have me. So that's why I'm doing this live stream. Now I am a little bit exhausted. I am a little bit tired. So bear with me as I just wrapped up a 3-hour live stream. And also a 3-hour workout earlier today. So be sure to follow me on all my social media platforms so you guys stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. And again, there's going to be no drop off in production. I'm going to do my best to kind of stay on topic here as we discuss the trade rumors, rumblings, and what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, and obviously going to talk about some of these players that are potentially being shopped around, right? And so we really have to take it with a grain of salt because this time around, a lot of it's clickbait. Let's not get it twisted. Like, I don't like being, how do I say this? Certain people do things for clickbait. I'm not one of them. So there you have it. But no, we're going to go ahead and talk about that. My man, Michael McCann says, Ryan, what is up? Not even a Las Vegas Raider fan, just showing love for my boy Beast. Have some fancy investments in the team and like to stay up to date. Mahalo. Thank you so much, Michael. And hey, man, like I said, I appreciate all the Niner fans that stay with me through the thick and thin here in the DOB because let's face it, you guys know I have a grading system. You guys know I cover all 32 NFL teams and no drop off in production. So when I have a conviction of a player, whether he's good or whether he's bad, at least I do the legwork and grade every single snap. I don't rely on PFF. I have my own grading system. Thank you very much. So we're going to go ahead and break it down as to what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing when it comes to the Las Vegas Raiders. And obviously they're taking on the New Orleans Saints on Sunday. So let's go ahead and talk about the injury report first and foremost, because that's kind of important, right? So we're going to go ahead and talk about the injury report and get this going on. So, all right. So if you guys haven't heard, let me talk about the injury report. All right. So John Abram obviously was limited on Friday, but he's listed as questionable. A lot of guys are listed as questionable for the game, but I think, and what I'm hearing is John Abram's good to go. So I'm not going to say he's not good to go. He's going to be starting, all right? He's going to be starting. So I'm not concerned with him. Devontae Adams, same thing. He was questionable, limited in today's practice, but he should be good to go. Tayshaun Bauer, he's questionable, but he's been a healthy scratch for the majority of the year. So whether or not he was active or not active, he'd probably be a healthy scratch anyways. And you look at a guy like Jayon Brown, who's been dealing with a hamstring injury. He was limited throughout the week, but then practiced in full today. So that means that he has no game day status as opposed to questionable, probable, whatever the case may be. He is active on game day and good to go. Now, that has a domino effect on Divine Diablo. Divine Diablo, who's been graded out extremely well in the last 3 games of my grading system, especially in pass coverage, is one of those guys that was out. He was missing time this week in practice. In fact, he practiced Wednesday or Thursday, and he was limited on Friday. So it's going to be interesting to see with a questionable designation for him if he's able to play. That's the one that I would keep an eye on because, again, Divine Diablo is – he's instantly becoming one of my favorites to cover and one of my favorites to watch, right? And I think I pointed this out in my preseason training camp analysis is Divine Diablo is going to be a really good player. It might take some time early on, but he's going to transition seamlessly because the skill sets that I see from the NFL traits, they convert. And so we talked about it with Divine Diablo. You guys can catch all the interviews that I did with him over the course of the season, but good stuff coming from Divine Diablo. I hope he plays, and we're just going to have to see because he has a questionable designation there. Mac Hollins, he had a heel issue, but he was limited throughout. He's listed as questionable. DJ Turner, I talked to him today inside the locker room, and if I had to take a guess, I think nothing's confirmed, obviously, but I think he's good to go. He's listed as questionable. He was dealing with a hamstring injury, but he, like I said, these hamstring injuries, these soft tissue injuries, everybody has them around the league. It's just a matter of how much you're willing to work with and deal with, and how big the strain is, right? And we talk about the strains and the sprains and how that affects the player, right? Each individual player has a different recovery time and different methods. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but I think DJ Turner will be fine, although nothing is official here. All right, Darren Waller, limited throughout practice. He's also dealing with a hamstring injury. Talked to him yesterday, and he's listed as a questionable player, but I think he should be good to go. Posted some practice videos of him throughout the week. So there you have it there. On the flip side of that, let's look at the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints Have a few players who are out. I tweeted this out on social media. And again, if you guys follow me on whatever social media platform you are on, in the description box here on YouTube, if you're following on YouTube, all my other social media platforms are there. So like you have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, right? So Facebook would be Dark Side of BEASTwriter. There's a Facebook page and also a Facebook group. When it comes to Instagram and Twitter, it's just at BEASTwriter. So same as my YouTube channel. So everything's pretty much self-explanatory. But go ahead and follow me on those other social media platforms, because I don't always post here on YouTube. I don't always post on Twitter. I post sometimes on Instagram, and I like to kind of mix things up. So be sure to follow me on all those different platforms, because let's face it, you guys are all on these platforms. And that includes, well, I shouldn't say TikTok, but a lot of you guys are on TikTok. Sorry, Snapchat. Snapchat is kind of like non-existent these days. But I'm on, you guys get the picture. I'm on a lot of the social media platforms because that's my job. Jeff KC says Chiefs. I get it, man. I get your Chiefs lingo. Here's some food for thought. All right. And I think this is very interesting, especially when it comes to the injury report. Michael Thomas, who's dealing with a foot injury, is not going to be playing. He's been ruled out. Same with Jarvis Landry. He's been dealing with an ankle injury. He's been ruled out. So again, all you have is Chris Olave, right? Chris Olave, and that's pretty much it. And the gadget player, Swiss Army knife, Taysom Hill. All right. So you cannot tell me when Taysom Hill is in the game that Coach Graham is not going to account for that, right? He is going to account for that. And what do they like to do with Taysom Hill? Oh, let's use him in the shotgun formation, the pistol formation. Let's use a zone read and try to get outside zone runs with them, with Alvin Kamara mixed in there. It's like, okay, cool story, bro. But at the end of the day, if you just use a simple scrape exchange, that will take the guesswork out of it. And that will basically make Taysom Hill a non-factor. Now, Taysom Hill runs 90,000 miles per hour. And if he's going to go heads up on Denzel Perryman, he might not even make it out for a full before halftime. All right. Denzel Perryman can freaking light someone up, and Christmas come early. He can light someone up like a Christmas tree. And Taysom Hill, I guarantee if you try to, let's face it, you want to go and do the Oklahoma drill with Denzel Perryman, DP, he's going to be like lighting you up. All right. So you will be the Christmas. I'm just saying, keeping it 100. And Taysom Hill, I like him. He's tough. He's physical. And on any given play, he can turn a 5-yard run into a 75-yard house call. But at the end of the day, that's what I would do. I just use a scrape exchange off the zone read. Every time he's in, I'm just going to play the run. I'm not scared if he's going to pass it. And if he does, I have corners that can hold up in pass coverage. So there you have it. I'm not concerned at all. I think Coach Graham is going to do and dial up a perfect game plan when it comes to facing a depleted skill player position at wide receiver with no Jarvis Landry, no Michael Thomas. Adam Trautman is freaking questionable. All right. He's been dealing with an ankle injury. On the flip side of that, you don't have Marshawn Lattimore, who's been dealing with an ab injury. You know, usually it says abdomen, but it could be the oblique. It could be the oblique injury. You know, it's kind of, those are hard. Those are hard to come by. So I don't know what happened there, but he's out. He's not playing. And so, you know, have Marshawn Lattimore, and obviously they have Paulson Debo there, but cool story. He's been dealing with a knee injury, and he's been limited throughout the week. And so he's questionable. So they're pretty banged up, all right, the New Orleans Saints. And the only positive I see from the New Orleans Saints, there's a lot of positives, I guess. I should say a lot. But Alvin Kamara is a positive. Ryan Ramczyk, who's arguably the best right tackle in the entire league, right? I'm just keeping it 100. And we're going to talk about right tackles because I think Jack Conklin's the best right tackle in the league. But we're going to talk about the trade rumors a little bit later on. So there you have it there. That's basically the injury report. There's a few others, but I'm going to post that up on social media for all of you guys to enjoy. So, Mr. Bjorkman official says Diablo is a beast in the coming. Yes, he is. He is a beast. Part Artie says, you're doing a great job, bro. Keep it going, BEASTwriter. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate the love and support. And again, I wouldn't be in the position I am without you guys in my corner. Let's keep it 100 here in the DOB. And so when you're part of here, you're family. All right, you're family. I don't call it followers. I don't call it fans. I call it family. So you're in the DOB family, man. Home of the good vibes only. And that's what we're about. So we have fans from every single fan base in here, and that's all about the good vibes only. As you know, my man, Jeff KC, he's always in here, right? But he's always respectful, and he comes from the AFC West. And why? Because a lot of you guys play fantasy football. A lot of you guys place bets. And so, again, when I have my grading system, I form my grading system. Again, when you face a team like New Orleans Saints, oh, how good is Demario Davis? Is he really that good? Well, I have grades. And then you cross-check that with the rest of the off-ball linebackers around the league and say, hey, this guy's good, maybe in run fit integrity, but how is he in pass coverage? And then you assess the grade on both those parameters. And then you double down on that on the first level, right? So you can't really assess a team's defense if you don't go in all three phases. And I'm talking about first, second, and third levels. And so that's why it's very important that you do these things, or that I do these things. I shouldn't say you do these things, that I do these things. And that's the way I like to formulate my analysis, because I keep on saying it. If you're going to criticize or praise the player, at least have the decency and respect to sit down like I am right now and grade every single snap, right? Have the respect of the player to at least do that. That's the least you can do. That's the least you can do. Andrew Castro says, Jeff K. Chiefs, hilarious. Looking forward to our next game. You know, the Chiefs are, to be honest with you, I'm just keeping 100. The Chiefs are probably the second best team in the AFC, and I don't think there's any question about that. And now it's not throwing shit at any other team, but let's face it, it's the Bills and Chiefs. Everyone's saying it. I'd be dumb if I didn't say it. It is. And who knows? The Chiefs could make a move too, because they need a wide receiver, OBJ, right? We don't know what's going to happen, but we do know that Travis Kelce restructured his contract in the form of a signing bonus spread over the lifelong of the contract so he can generate cap space for GM Brett Veach. So I'm just saying, you guys got to read between the lines there. All right. So we're going to go ahead and talk about some things. And like I said, my guy, Aloha Dennis, thank you so much for the super thanks earlier today. I really appreciate it. Woke up and I was like, wow, my man Dennis is the real deal, man. And thank you so much for the love and support. It's funny because my guy, War Eagle, Joseph Hooven, who's obviously a Raiders PR guy, he's like, hey, are you going to the road game? I was like, nah. I have to save, but I'm not making enough of my YouTube channel yet, but I'm saving, obviously allocating funds for that. So no, I'm not going to be on that road trip when they face obviously the New Orleans Saints or the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to be stuck here in Las Vegas. But the good thing is this blessing in disguise is I'll be doing more live streams. So it's going to give me more time to go ahead and cover that. So of course I'll stay up to date with all the press conferences and so forth, and interviews and all that. But I like doing these live streams. I think they're really beneficial because, again, it's just like talking football. It's just like you're at a bar and talking football. It's almost like you're here with me, even though you're not in the street, in the comfort of your own home. So I like it. I like doing it this way. I think these Pick Six live streams are beneficial for everyone, but that's just me being biased. Jimmy Lopez says, Martinez looked like he was flying around making sure tackles. What did the film show on him? Dude, I like Blake Martinez. Blake Martinez, to me, is a guy who I've been high on since COVID. And I say since COVID because it's 2020. But he's a guy that was a free agent, and I said, man, when I was grading him with the Green Bay Packers, this guy's a tackling magnet, all right? And this guy's very smart. He's very cerebral. He gets it. So he fits the cultural identity of the Raider way. What I see from Blake Martinez is I see a stout starter. Like I think he has starter capability, and this is not throwing shade at anyone. This is just my analysis. In my grading system, Blake Martinez is better than Jayon Brown, all right? Blake Martinez is better than Jayon Brown, all right? Now, when I say that, I have grades to back it up. I have plays to back it up. So again, take it with a grain of salt. But at the end of the day, that's just what I have in my grading system. All right. I think Blake Martinez is better than Jayon Brown. That's not taking anything from Jayon Brown either. I like Jayon Brown, right? Coming from the Tennessee Titans. But I just think Blake Martinez is a better fit for what Coach Graham is trying to do and trying to accomplish. But yeah, that's basically what we have going on. Andrew Cass says, if we continue our success of running on first and second down, we will march through Bourbon Street singing Raider. Raider songs of joy. Autumn Wind. Why can't you just play Autumn Wind? That'd be dope. You know, going down Bourbon Street, just playing Autumn Wind. I'm all for it. And again, if you guys are watching this video and you guys like to donate, you guys can do so by sending me a super chat or super sticker. Those are greatly beneficial for the YouTube channel and the upkeep of the channel. And if you're unable to do that, no worries. Just give this video a thumbs up. There's 23 of you guys watching right now. So if all 23 of you guys like it, it will push the algorithm that YouTube likes to provide and recommend this video to other people who share the similar interests as you. So other Raider Nation, of course, right? So if you guys like the content and you're unable to donate because times are tough, and I get it, times are tough for everyone, right? So give it a thumbs up and we will go ahead, and that will definitely help the DOB family grow because, again, when you're here, you're family, and that's what it's all about here in the DOB. So give it a thumbs up. Engage with us here in the DOB, and it's all about the good vibes only. So keep it good vibes only. We don't want haters in here. We don't want trolls in here. We don't want any of that bad juju. Is that Juju even a word? I don't know. That Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm joking. Juju Smith-Schuster's funny. I like him, though. I like Juju Smith-Schuster coming from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kikaha Raider says, love the live streams, bro. Keep it up. Thank you so much, man. And again, without you guys in my corner, like I said, I wouldn't be here in the position I am. And I always say that. I'm always going to say that and pound that out. And it sounds cliche, but it's freaking true. Like, literally, I'd be talking to myself if you didn't leave that comment, or if you didn't say I was doing a good job. Then how would I know I'm doing a good job if no one tells me you're doing a good job? Literally, oh yeah, I can be like, oh yeah, I'm doing a good job, and talking to myself, oh yeah, Beast, you're doing a good job. I know I'm doing a good job. It's like, no, man, you're talking to yourself. There's no one talking to you. Diego Ramos says, BEASTwriter giving his picks for morning games. All right, so I know you guys want these picks, man. This is a thing. It's like, I got to be honest, the last few weeks have been really quirky. Who would have thought the Tampa Bay Bucks being double-digit favorites to lose in back-to-back games? In fact, they lost yesterday too. So what the heck is going on with the Tampa Bay Bucks? I don't know, man. You guys tell me what's going on with the Tampa Bay Bucks. All I know is the Tampa Bay Bucks are in trouble. Tampa Bay Bucks are in trouble. Now, I know I know Tom Brady finalized his divorce with Gisele Bündchen, but Tom Brady ain't the same. All right, Tom Brady is not the same, right? So I think there's a lot of off-field things that kind of, what's the word? He's human. Tom Brady is human after all, guys. Egalitarian says Blake Martinez cannot cover. That's same can be said of Jaylen Brown. They both are not very good in coverage. But then at the end of the day, if you look at run fit integrity, I would rather have Blake Martinez rather than Jaylen Brown. That's just in my grades. That's what I see. But you're right. Both can't cover. But Divine Diablo can. And that's why I think it's going to be, again, a question mark on whether or not Divine Diablo is active. Because if you're Coach Graham, you can't play that Tampa cover 2 that you like to play with Divine Diablo taking away the scenes, because he has the speed to cover that ground because he's a former safety coming from Virginia Tech. When it comes to Blake Martinez and Jaylen Brown to cover that much ground in between, and then you're going against a lot of speed wide receivers like Chris Olave, even though they're depleted. If you look at their roster, they still have Marquise Callaway and a few other guys. Those guys can stretch the field between the 20s. And again, if you're running 4 verticals, that's going to leave what? That's going to leave guys open, because again, a lot of times when you run 4 verticals, you're putting that safety and putting that curl hook defender to a decision. And so when you do that, that's when you cause fuga, right? F up the gray area that we talk about in my grading system. So there's a lot of different things that we can talk about, but that's one of them. Jeff says, you're a beast. You're going to blow up. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Let's hope for the best. Let's hope for the best. Let's see. We got Gacko Ray says, Jaylen Brown reminds me of Littleton. So much high hopes and ends up getting benched. Yeah, you guys remember Corey Littleton? Corey Littleton was a guy that they basically just got rid of. And I was high on Corey Littleton. I liked Corey Littleton coming out of college. But Corey Littleton is just like, man, he's a liability in pass coverage. But then that can be the same. That can be said of a lot of inside linebackers in the NFL. I mean, that's why, again, if I'm going to praise or criticize a player, I better do the legwork. So if you look around the league and you look at the best off-ball linebackers, right? People think Devin White's the best off-ball linebacker or one of the best top 5 off-ball linebackers. He's not. He's not. In the last 3 years, he's not. Definitely not in my grading system. Why? Because he's a liability in pass coverage. Second of all, people think, oh, this guy's a beast in run fit integrity. No, he's not. Anytime an offensive lineman lock horns with him, he gets pushed back, driven back 2 to 3 yards off the line of scrimmage, and then he misses his run fit integrity. So the other guy has to gap and replace. I'm telling you guys right now, this is what I do, right? So like when you look at today's NFL and you look at it being a pass happy league and you look at the way the game is evolving and changing, people are wondering why is the defense catching up to the offense? How come scoring is down? Well, I'll tell you what, how many Micah Parsons are there now in the league? You have Isaiah Simmons, right? Let's just go around the league, right? Not saying Isaiah Simmons is on the Micah Parsons level, but you're seeing the kind of dynamic that you're bringing there. You see Isaiah Simmons, and then you get Xavier Collins to kind of double down on those gains, right? And then you look around the league and say, okay, well, let's stay within the AFC West, right? Divine Diablo, right? Converted safety, outside linebacker. Here we go. So you can go around the league and talk about all these different players and how they struggle in pass coverage when it comes to defending the curl hook or the curl flat, depending on the scheme that you're trying to play. But at the end of the day, a lot of 2 down thumpers are just not good in pass coverage, and that's just with any team. And so, like, that's why you have to take it. That's why I like formulating grades, because they do look really bad. I mean, Jaylen Brown looks really bad in pass coverage. He does. but there's others around the league. We all remember Mark Barron, right, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. In fact, let's go ahead and talk about the Steelers for a second. Mark Barron was a liability, and he's a converted safety to a inside linebacker, excuse me, on that 34 base defense. That didn't work out too well either. Roll Tide roll, but I'm just saying, right? And so you look at, and that was a game of musical chairs. Oh, let's try Robert Spillane there. And now who do they have now? Myles Jack, and they even pick up Devin Bush's 5th-year option. So here we go. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. All right. So Lefarious Monster says the 30-team analysis were beast of beast. There you go. Rafael Martinez says, do you think we're making a trade for a defensive tackle linebacker? Appreciate your content. Follow you on Twitter. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, and again, if you're watching the live stream right now, as 30 of you got, we just went from 20 to 30, 31 now. It's going up. Just give this video a thumbs up if you like my content, so that way YouTube knows to push this as a recommended video to other Raider Nation here on YouTube, here on other social media platforms. So do me a solid. That's going to do me a solid. And if you guys want to support, you guys can do so by clicking the money icon here on YouTube and send me a super chat or a super thanks. And it's all greatly appreciated. So, all right, let's go ahead and talk about this, right? We're going to go ahead and talk about some of these moves that I think that GM Dave Ziegler is about to make. All right, GM Dave Ziegler, again, top 5 GM in my estimation. And in order to formulate my analysis that I'm about to talk about, we have to delve into the past. I talked about it on 2 live streams ago when it comes to Dave Ziegler making power moves. And we're just going to go ahead. And again, because I don't expect all you guys to follow every single live stream. That's going to be impossible because I push out a lot of content. But I will say this. All right, we'll say this. Let's go ahead and backtrack a little bit. When GM Dave Ziegler became the GM of the Las Vegas Raiders, what was his first move? Getting a backup quarterback to who? Derek Carr, right? And who'd they get? Jarrett Stidham. And that was a 2-for-1 deal, correct? Yes. What did they have to do? Well, in that trade, they yielded a 6th-round pick, but they got Jarrett Stidham, a proven backup under Coach McDaniel's system. So there's no drop-off in production from a cerebral standpoint, who can kind of foster that engagement and cultural identity and picking up the offense. And he can actually help Carr out too, right? Initially, right? The backup helping the starter out. Like, how many times can you say that? And then on top of that, GM Dave Ziegler goes, hey, we can yield a 7th-round pick in return, but we have to give up a 6th-round pick. So we lose 1 round of draft position. Okay, that's a good trade because we still have our backup quarterback. So in that 2-for-1 deal, we're getting a steal in my estimation. All right, win-win for the Gipper for GM Dave Ziegler. Then double down on those gains. What did they do with the Atlanta Falcons? Well, let's go ahead and trade Bryan Edwards, who everyone was like, oh my gosh, this guy made so much clutch catches that, well, what are we doing? The sky is falling. Absolutely not. Let's not get it twisted. And I said it in real time. I said, look, you can find a guy who can run 7, 8, 9 bangers, right? Matt Collins, some of these other guys, right? And so what do? So GM Dave Ziegler goes ahead and says, you know what? We have 2 7th-round draft picks from the Jarrett Stidham deal. We don't have a 6th-round pick, but we do have an extra 7th. So let's go ahead and trade Bryan Edwards and that 7th and get a 5th-round pick. So now not only are you making a 1-for-2 deal this time, not a 2-for-1 deal, you're making a 1-for-2 deal, but you're getting 2 rounds of draft position flexibility. So you're moving up the draft board and you're getting rid of a player who has 2 catches for freaking 12 yards this year. Wow. You tell me who's winning this deal. Holla at your boy, GM Dave Ziegler's doing it again. Boom. And then what does he do? You don't have a 6th-round pick, so what do? Jonathan Hankins, who graded extremely poorly in my grading system. In fact, he paced the team with a team high 4 missed run fits and limited sample size to pull from. And he knew that he didn't have, as in when I say he, GM Dave Ziegler knew he didn't have a 6th-round pick. So what did he do? It's like, oh man, let's go to John Hankins and get a 6th-round pick in return from the Dallas Cowboys. Boom! Good deal, because Jonathan Hankins was a liability in run fit integrity, and now it opens the door for rookies Neil Farrell and obviously Matthew Butler. Both those guys are going to need live reps, so GM Dave Ziegler and the scouting department and personnel department and the coaching staff can kind of see what they have. You don't know what you have, or you don't know what you don't have unless you give these guys live action reps. Let's not get it twisted. I talked about it with Taylor Mumford, talked about it with Neil Farrell, these live reps help. I mean, it's kind of common sense. Give these guys live reps. You're going to need to see what you have. Otherwise, why draft these guys, right? Why draft these guys if you're not going to use them? You drafted them for a reason because you saw something in them, right? So that's why I think it's a really smart move by GM Dave Ziegler. All right, so now let's look at it from a schematic standpoint and from, let me just bring up the ticker. All right, so look at GM Dave Ziegler now has 8 draft picks. All right, 8 draft picks, and I'm just going to break it down for you They have their own 2023 first round draft pick. They have a 2023 second round draft pick. They have a 2023 third round draft pick, 2024 fourth round draft pick. They have 2 fifth round draft picks into the Bryan Edwards deal. They don't have a 6th round draft pick because for the Jarrett Stidham deal and that 2-for-1 deal. But then they get that 6th round draft pick back from the Dallas Cowboys. All right. So maybe you lose some draft position there because you're yielding your own, which you probably will finish out with maybe possibly a worse record than the Dallas Cowboys. We don't know, right? We don't know how the season's going to play off, but let's say it's a one-off and it's an equal match. So you still get a 6th round pick in return. So you get that 6 back that you already gave up for the Jarrett Stidham deal. All right. And then on top of that, you still have that 7th round draft pick from the Jarrett Stidham deal. All right. And that 2-for-1 deal. So again, you have 8 draft picks in return, right? 8 draft picks total. And you're for the scouting department, like, heck yeah, man. So is GM Dave Ziegler done yet? No, he's not. I don't think he's done yet. Now, watch me be wrong. Look, there's a guy, and I'm just going to put the sticker here. There's a guy by the name of Jack Conklin. I like Jack Conklin a lot. I hope you guys like Jack Conklin a lot. In fact, I like Jack Conklin so much, I voted him as the Pro Football Writer because I have a vote, obviously, as part of the member of the Pro Football Writers Association. He got my vote for first team All-Pro 2 years running now. All right, 2 years running. So for anyone, and some people saying on Twitter, oh, no, we don't need him. What do you mean you don't need him? You don't need an All-Pro right tackle? Please stop. Let's just stop there. You think Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt would be like, oh, yeah, we don't need an all-pro offensive tackle. We would rather have a rookie. Stop. It's really interesting how a lot of this is kind of, like I said, like Jack Conklin's the real deal. All right. Jack Conklin's the real deal. I graded him ever since he came out of the Tennessee Titans, right? He was drafted by the Tennessee Titans, number 8 overall by John Robinson, right? So when you do the math and you actually look at what you get in a guy like Jack Conklin, 2016 first round pick, drafted number 8 overall, 6'6", 308 pounds. Guy has great movement skills, true technician of the game, very smart, plays to the whistle, has a nasty mean streak. I mean, he fits the Raiders' cultural identity of what they're trying to build upon, right? And you need those veteran guys. So why not go out and get a guy like Jack Conklin? And that's not taking it away from Thayer Munford. I like Thayer Munford a lot. I think he could be a serviceable right tackle in this league and has Pro Bowl potential. I see the NFL traits. But wouldn't it be well served to get a guy like Jack Conklin because the iron sharpens iron mentality is in full swing, right? And if you look at the financial snap sheet, which we're going to talk about and how he fits into the Raiders salary cap, it makes financial sense, all right? So again, when you get a guy who's extremely strong at the point of attack and will absolutely blow up holes for Josh Jacobs or whoever is running behind him, why not go out and get that guy, right? He's not athletically gifted. I'm going to say he's not the most athletically gifted guy, but he is a true mauler and a true technician of the game. That's his true calling, right? So he's fundamentally sound. Coach Graham, Coach Lombardi, Coach McDaniels, all the positional coaches, Bracillo, they all talk about what? Fundamentals. Coach McMahon, fundamentals, right? So, boom. He comes in, no drop off in production. The guy gets it from the go. And he's a veteran. So, I don't know. I think it'd be a great job if GM Dave Ziegler can pull off this deal because Jack Conklin is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. And if he's a free agent at the end of the year, you're going to be fighting for his services. And what I would do is I would trade for Jack Conklin because his salary cap number for 2023 is not as high as one would think. And Jermaine Illuminor has an expiring contract. So there's no guarantee that he returns next year. So all you have is Thayer Munford. And so again, obviously people tend to forget we also have Brandon Parker, but what's his status like, right? Like we don't know, right? So if you get Jack Conklin, who's on a different all level, and I like Jermaine Illuminor, I like Thayer Munford, but I'm just saying Jack Conklin's an all-pro. He's all-pro for a reason, right? And so the iron sharpens iron mentality will be in full swing. I think it'd be beneficial if they went ahead and got Jack Conklin. And again, we have to look at the valuation versus evaluation, right? I always talk about that. You can't just say name drop people without doing the research, right? As I cover all 32. So Jeff says Raiders might trade Josh Jacobs. I don't know. I think that'd be a tough sell, but it could happen. It could happen. I wouldn't be surprised if it did because they didn't pick up his 5th-year option, but I don't want that to happen. Nothing surprises me. I'm just going to say that. Nothing surprises me in the NFL. Why are fans missing the fact that the offensive execution or lack thereof is the best reason why we're not undefeated? It's not play calls or the defense. I think it's a number of different factors. Look, talk to scouts, I talk to coaches and management, of course, right? So and Coach McDaniels talked about in his pressers, like, the ball bounces one way, you have one penalty, you do this, and it adds up, right? Those little things, attention details add up, and that's ultimately in a football where it's a game of inches, gonna mean the difference between victory or defeat. So again, you really have to take it. I always say take things with a grain of salt, because yes, you can point out these things. Oh, they should have done this better. Or they should have done that better. At the end of the day, it's like there's a lot of things they should have done better on both sides of the football and on special teams. You got to remember, special teams is a crucial part of the game because it can flip the field position and time of possession and everything so forth. So again, I think if it would, they're losing these games by one possession, right? And so a lot of these games that they're losing by, it can go either way. So to me, I think the Raiders are just fine. It just so happens that the ball just went bounce the other way sometimes, and that happens. That's football, right? And tuck rule. We all remember that, guys. That was a fumble. Is Carr 100 on the new advanced playbook, or is more to be expected this coming game versus Saints or versus Aints? Yeah, I haven't heard Aints in a long time. That is a great question. I'm not too sure. I'm not going to answer that because I don't know. Salvatore Bruno says, which one of these three teams would you consider closer to making playoffs? Raiders, Niners, or Steelers? That's a good question. I think in the Raiders case, they play in the AFC West. It's really tough with the Chargers there. And obviously they're kind of like, right? They're getting these ones, like, what the heck? Like 1 week they look good, but then I think they lose 38-10 to the Jaguars 1 week. It's like, what the heck is going on at home? It's like, what are we doing? As Julian Edelman say inside the NFL. But you obviously have the Chiefs there and you have the Bills there. I mean, that's a great 1-2 combination. Steelers in the AFC North, you look at that division, you have the Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, two very tough teams there. Cleveland Browns obviously can show up at any given point. And, that division is going to be rock hard solid. So if I were to take a guess, I think the Niners in the NFC West, they have the Seahawks there, but I mean, how long could they sustain that success? Like, let's be honest. Did we really think the Seattle Seahawks would be in first place? I'm just saying, the Rams are there, but I mean, the Rams are not the same. I mean, Jalen Ramsey's struggling this year. I don't know what PFF grades him at 85 points on whatever. That's ridiculous. He's graded at 6.2. All right. So that's why my own grading. So anyways, that's for a different story. But the Rams are not the Rams of old. Yes, Bobby Wagner's playing at a first-team All-Pro level in my grading system. He kind of bounced back, which is kind of concerning because – not concerning, which is kind of weird because in Seattle, I was very critical of Bobby Wagner during the later half of his career in Seattle because he was horrible in pass coverage, talking about off-ball linebackers kind of struggle in pass coverage there. He'd get Fuga a lot. But, no, he's having a great year, and obviously they're doing a good job there with the LA Rams. But, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of different things there. I'm going to have to say the Raiders and the Niners. I think those two teams, it's a toss-up. The Raider Room says, Loopy's on vacay with a fan, but I had to drop in. Thank you so much, man. And thank you for a shout-out on Instagram. I saw that, bro. I saw you give me a shout-out on Instagram, man. I appreciate that. The Raider says, give us Conklin. Look, I like Jack Conklin, and we're going to go ahead and talk about it. All right, let's look at the evaluation versus valuation, right? So, again, we talked about the iron sharpens iron mentality, but, again, when you talk evaluation versus evaluation from a GM perspective, you have to look at age, right? Age is a very, very significant factor because, again, when you give a guy a contract, age comes into play. Let's not get it twisted about that. So, when you look at the top contracts around the league when it comes to the top offensive right tackles, right, you look at guys like Lane Johnson, and he's making $18 million APY, right? And then you look at guys like Taylor Moton, right, from the Carolina Panthers. He's making, I think, $17 million APY. And then you take a look at a guy like Braden Smith from the Indianapolis Colts. I think he's making $17.5 million APY. And so then you take account their age. Okay, so how old is Lane Johnson? I think he's like in his 30s. I think he's early 30s. I think he's like 32 or something like that. And then you look at guys like Braden Smith and Taylor Moton, who I just mentioned. Those guys are like 28 and 26, so respectively. So when you look at those guys, and then you look at a guy like Jack Conklin, who's also 28 years old, that's a good number. And when you kind of look at this from a financial snapshot standpoint, in 2022, the Las Vegas Raiders have $10.3 million $3 million in salary cap health. What that means is because Jack Conklin has $11 million cap number, if you were to trade for him, it would be prorated. So that means you would only have to eat 8 million of that 11 million, which would fit underneath the cap. And that's only enough wiggle room to not do much else, right? So usually as a GM, you kind of want at least, I don't know, I would say at least 7 to 10 million in wiggle room, ideally. But some teams don't have that. And if you can get a guy like Jack Conklin, and let's say Colton Miller or one of these other guys who have a lot of dead money tied to their contracts or whatever the case may be, and you talk to them, hey, look, we're going to get Jack Conklin, but we need you to restructure your deal in the form of a signing bonus spread over the life of the contract so we can kind of get some salary cap health to kind of fit him in our budget. Boom, there you go. You don't think teams do that and talk about that with players? Absolutely. Come on now, let's not get it twisted. So that's why I think Jack Conklin fits. You can fit him in the cap, and he's only 28 years old. Someone's going to up. Ask Nick Chubb who he wants. Nick Chubb is going to want Jack Conklin, bro. I'm just saying. And then how does that affect Josh Jacobs, right? Because, everyone's saying, Josh Jacobs should be number one priority. I agree 110%. I love Josh Jacobs. I think they should re-sign Josh Jacobs, but it's not up to me. It's up to GM Dave Ziegler to re-sign him. And ultimately, people are talking about the franchise tag. No, you should not franchise tag Josh Jacobs and give him top 5 salary money. You should give him the transition tag. What's the difference? What's the difference between a franchise tag and a transition tag? Well, luckily you're here in the DOB and I can break it down for you. All right. So stop with the franchise tag talk. They're not going to do that. That's out of the question. Now watch them do it. No, but franchise tag money means that you have to give Josh Jacobs at least in excess of $10 million. Do you really think that GM Dave Ziegler is going to give him $10 million in excess cash to franchise a guy when you could have just gave him on a 5th-year option and then been done with it? No, it's common sense, bro. So what you want to do is you want to give him, let's slap him with a transition tag. That's a top 10 salaries. And although there is no compensation if he signs elsewhere with another team, you do have the first right of refusal. And I talked about this, that teams use the transition tag to kind of gain that leverage back, right? So again, yeah, I think you should give him the transition tag. Why not? If someone tries to sign him to an offer sheet worthy of whatever they think they offered and try to outprice the Las Vegas Raiders, then at that time you can make the executive decision to say, hey, look, that's too rich for our blood. See you later, Josh Jacobs. Or, you know what? That's within our financial snap sheet. Let's go ahead and make that play. And here's another thing when it comes to Jack Conklin, as it has a domino effect. I love talking football, if you guys can't tell by now. By bringing in Jack Conklin and you let Josh Jacobs go, Zeus White's going to need enforcers. Are you really trusting Thayer Munford to get the job done on the right side? Because heads will roll when it comes to the Raider Nation fan base if Zeus White doesn't at least replicate 70% of Josh Jacobs' production, who is on pace, by the way, to have 2,193 scrimmage yards and 17 touchdowns. Let me drink some coffee. Let that settle in. So if you're thinking about producing that type of production at a 70% success rate, you're looking at probably 1,535 scrimmage yards for Zeus White in essentially his rookie season, because he's not getting the touches this year to warrant a true rookie season. So it's kind of almost like the team is redshirting him, right? Kind of like redshirting him for next year if they were going to go in that direction. So again, why not get a guy like Jack Conklin? I'm just saying. And then again, why Jack Conklin, right? I'm not just going to name drop a need for a player if it doesn't make financial sense for the other team. It does. Why? Because we all know that they have Deshaun Watson coming back. We all know what's going on with Deshaun Watson, but he has a $54.9 million cap hit in 2023. Holla at your boy. And then on top of that, Andrew Berry, you guys remember Andrew Berry, right? If you guys don't know, he's the GM of the Cleveland Browns. He's very smart. One of the better GMs in the league. I like him. He has needs across the board. All right. Yeah, they got Amari Cooper. Yeah, they got Chase Winovich. Yeah, they got some of these other guys. Right. But again, they still have needs. They need a center. They need a defensive tackle. Right. They still need a defensive end. David Clown. We don't know. Right. He always gets injured. Right. Yeah, of course, you got Myles Garrett. You made a trade for, obviously, who was it? Deion Jones, right? If not mistaken. And so you got that. You filled your off-ball linebacker, if you will. But at the end of the day, you still need a strong safety. There's Jonathan Abram. Wow. But he's in the last expiring contract because GM Dave Ziegler didn't pick up his option. So could you trade Jonathan Abram and maybe a 5th-round pick? Because you have 2 5th-round picks, GM Dave Ziegler, and get Jack Conklin on an expiring contract, and Andrew Berry in return can get something in return, because at the end of the day, Jack Conklin's more likely gone and done in Cleveland anyway. So might as well get something in return as the season goes on, because you need something in return. Why not get draft capital? And yeah, Jonathan Abram can be the bonus piece, because at the end of the day, he comes at the cheap. He's still on his rookie deal. And even though it's an expiring contract, you can kind of ink him to a long-term deal on the cheap, if how you see fit, right? So again, if not him, you can go after Cleve Farrell. Same thing applies. First round pick, 2019. Cool story, bro. And again, what does GM Dave Ziegler do? Well, what did he do in the draft? Well, he had 2 5th-round picks, and who did he trade up for? Neil Farrell in the 4th round. So you don't think he can do it again? Lightning strike twice? I can see it happening. Now, whether or not I want it to happen, I'm not going to say I want this to happen. I'm just saying, just look at the scenarios. And ESPN, Jeremy Fowler already put on the report that the Raiders are actively shopping Jonathan Abram and Cleve Farrell. I'm not saying that. That's just reported by ESPN, Jeremy Fowler. So, and he's good. He's credible. So I'm just going to go what he says. Yeah. Don't you guys think that kind of makes financial sense? That's all I got to say about that is, people talk about the franchise tag. It's like, nah, man, like, do not franchise tag Josh Jacobs. I'm not saying he's not worth it. I'm just saying you're not going to slap the GM Dave Ziegler ain't going to slap the franchise. You know, he might not even slap the transition tag. Let's not get it twisted. But if you're going to choose one of the other, why not give the first right of refusal? Because let's face it, if they thought highly of Josh Jacobs, even coming out, because let's be honest about this, Coach McDaniels scouts players while with New England. So even though he's on the New England Patriots, you don't think he looked at Josh Jacobs coming out of Alabama, who Nick Saban and Bill Belichick have close ties to? They're good buddies. Come on. Come on. Roll Tide, bro. Let's go. Let's talk about this. Let's keep it 100. So that's what I'm saying, man. All I'm saying is this. Slap the guy with the transition tag. Slap Josh Jacobs, because he definitely balling out of control. But you don't want to lose him. And if you were to lose him, make the other team pay for it. All right, we're going to sign you to a transition tag. Cool. And then let's say the Philadelphia Eagles in the offseason sign him to this big multi-million-dollar contract, and it's too rich for your blood. Cool. See you in Philly. We got Zeus White. We drafted in the 4th. Right? Now, I'm not saying that that's the right move to make. I'm just saying financially that could happen. But I wouldn't just let Josh Jacobs walk for free. Hell no. He's too good. I like Josh Jacobs. I hope he stays. All right. So, Egalitarian said, I would not mind if we signed Greedy Williams. Quarterback Greedy Williams from the Cleveland Browns. Greedy Williams is one of those guys. I don't know. I like Rocky Sin. I like Nate Hobbs. I like Amik Robertson. I like both those guys. The Raiders says bring in Darren Payne and Conklin in before the deadline would be the perfect way to go on a playoff run. That would be, hey man, I like that. I like that thinking. Roll Tide, roll Darren Payne, again playing next to Jonathan Allen. Those guys are beasts up front, right? You see how teams are being built with first-round picks along the defensive line. The 49ers were the first to do it, or one of the first in the last 7 years to do it. It started with Eric Armstead back in 2015, drafted number 17th overall. And then they doubled down on those gains in 2016 with DeForest Buckner. And then they went after other guys along the line. Solomon Thomas, of course. You guys all remember Solomon Thomas. He was supposed to be the Leo position in that cover 3 scheme. How's the Leo going? It's going. Yeah, Nick Bosa. You guys get the picture. That's all I got to say. I think Jack Conklin. Now, I said this 2 weeks ago. No, not 2 weeks ago. Last week, I said this on my live stream. So this is nothing new, how high I am on Jack Conklin. It's nothing new back in 2020, if you follow me back in 2020, because I am very transparent with my voting rights. Once the votes are in, I show my ballot. Very transparent. This is who I voted for. There it is. Proof is in the pudding. Oh, why didn't you select? I'm like, well, he ain't great. Because my grading system, he ain't grade better than that player. Otherwise, I would have gave him the vote. Anyways, there's a lot of different things we can talk about, but no, that's the trade deadline talk that I would like to see. I wouldn't be opposed to. I just say I wouldn't like to see. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Jack Conklin in silver and black because he just fits the cultural identity of the team moving forward. Now, the question remains to be seen: how much do you have to give Jack Conklin moving forward? Again, we talked about his 11 million cap number. He has a $3 million cap hit from the Cleveland Browns perspective because of the dead money tied to that contract. But then you're eating up $8 million of his remaining portion of that prorated contract. What we're trying to talk about here is okay, cool story, bro. But then what's the instant gratification versus long-term gains that we always talk about, right? We talk about that transition tag and all that good stuff, but let's talk about the instant gratification versus long-term gains. What is the instant gratification versus long-term gains? Let's go ahead and talk about that. What is the instant gratification versus long-term gains of signing a guy like Jack Conklin, who's only 28 years old? Well, let's say 29. Let's just round up, 29 years old, right? Who can pair with Colton Miller, give you 2 bookend tackles for the foreseeable future for Derek Carr. And whoever the running back is. Who knows? It may not be Zeus White. They could go out and get someone else. I don't know. We don't know. Could be by running back by committee. We don't know. I love Amir Abdullah coming out of the flats. I love that. That guy's good. You guys know how I feel about Amir Abdullah. But in a nutshell, I think you're going to have to give Jack Conklin at least $18 million per year. All right. And people, oh my gosh, that's too much. For an all-pro offensive tackle, well, they don't grow on trees. I'm sorry. You can get a serviceable right tackle for 12.5 to 13 million APY if you want to go that route. But for 18 million APY, oh, but he's not a left tackle. He's a right. Look, left, right don't matter to me. If you're an offensive tackle and you can play on an all-pro level, that's good enough for me. That's all I got to say. And you look at Lane Johnson, right? We talked about Lane Johnson. He's 32 years old. I think he's one of the highest paid. I think Ryan Ramczyk, speaking of the New Orleans Saints, I think he is the highest paid right tackle APY. But let's go ahead and talk about Lane Johnson. I think he's getting 18 million APY. Let me just double check on that because some Philadelphia Eagles fans, oh my gosh. Let me just make sure. I don't know how I remember like crunch these numbers, but I don't know. Thank my parents for that. All right, yeah, it is 18 million APY. Braden Smith, that's correct, at 17.5 million APY. Taylor Moton from the Carolina Panthers, 17 million APY. So Jack Conklin is better than Taylor Moton or Moton. Is that how you say it? Moton, whatever. Braden Smith, he's definitely better than Braden Smith. I like Braden Smith, right? But he's definitely better than Braden Smith. And Lane Johnson territory is 18 million APY. So you're looking at about $18 million for a all-pro right tackle. Sure, feed the beast. Feed the beast. Feed him. Feed him. I would do it in a heartbeat because I think you build teams from the inside out, not the outside in. If you do it the other way around, it doesn't matter. You can have Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, and name drop all these skill players, but if they don't have time to get open because the offensive line is in shambles, what good is it? If they don't have time to make teams, well, if opposing defenses make you one-dimensional, what good is it? Right? They're just stacking the box, daring you to beat you down the field because they know that you can't block. Your blocking patterns suck. You can't hold up in pass pro. So now you have to max protect. Now it's a numbers game at that point. In fact, it's actually a 2-by-1 numbers game at that point. Then it screws up your personnel groupings. Now in your third and long situations. I'm just saying, everything starts up front. Everything starts up front. Egalitarian says, Beast, why don't you like Greedy Williams? I don't know. I just think to me he's too inconsistent in my grading system. Now, to be fair, Greedy Williams does have skills that I like. But ultimately, when it comes to Greedy Williams' game, I just don't see enough to warrant going after a guy like Greedy Williams. I think that they're fine without him because of the guys that they already have. I like Anthony Averett. I do like all the defensive backs. I like them. I like all and that includes John Abram. I like him. He's a good player, playing at a first-team All-Pro level in my grading system, believe it or not. I'm just saying, I'm keeping him 100. I just keep him 100. Like people say, oh, he's a liability in pass coverage. Yes, he is. John Abram is a liability. That's not a secret to anyone, but he's also playing at an All-Pro level in my grading system. So let's just keep it 100. He's playing really, really well. In fact, you can argue that he's having the best season of any defensive player on the Las Vegas Raiders outside of Max Crosby. All right. Kenny says, our running game will suffer with Waller blocking instead of Foster. Jesse says, and it allows us to draft 2 defensive players in the first and second round. Wide Awake says, Beast, what do you do with Waller if you were a GM? Oh, man, this is a good question. This is a very good question. Look, I like Darren Waller a lot. I've been having Darren Waller's back all season, ever since I covered the Las Vegas Raiders, because I think, again, you guys know I put it out there. It went viral. My tweet went viral. If you guys follow me on Twitter, and again, if you're following me on YouTube or whatever social media platform you're on, in the description box here on YouTube, you can follow me on all my other social media platforms. And the reason why I encourage you to do that, like right now, or at the end of the live stream, is solely because I don't post all the time on YouTube. I don't post all the time on Twitter. So you're going to want to follow me on the other social media platforms that you're already on to stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. So that way you get notified and be like, oh, did you really talk about that? Yeah. And like, oh, what? Well, how come I missed it? No, you didn't miss it. I was just doing it on other platforms. So again, you guys are already on Instagram. You guys are already on Twitter. You guys are already on YouTube. You can find me easily at BEASTwriter. And then also Facebook. Who's not on Facebook? Everyone's on Facebook. And I have a Facebook page and a dedicated Facebook group called Dark Side of BEASTwriter. So go ahead. That's what the DOB stands for, Dark Side of BEASTwriter. So go ahead and follow me. And obviously the private Facebook group, I'll have to add you in. But be sure to go ahead and mark complete and check off the box. And I will add you into the group after this video concludes, or I should say live stream concludes. And that's what it's all about, man. It's all about the good vibes only. But no, I'm on all the social media platforms, so be sure to follow me. Also, people are wondering, some of you guys are not on YouTube. You guys don't trust sending super chats or super stickers through YouTube because it's just too much of a hassle. In the description box of all my live streams, there is a Venmo. My Venmo account is there, so you guys can, if you guys want to donate to the channel, you guys can do it straight from Venmo. Who doesn't have Venmo? Everyone has Venmo, and you guys can donate there. So all good vibes only. Sean Donahoe says, all these running backs on the roster, and Josh is basically playing 90% of the snaps. Don't get me wrong. I love Josh, but I feel like we need to start rotating some guys in to keep him fresh for the stretch run. You know what? This is a very good analysis. But when it comes to Wide Awake, let's get back to Wide Awake. Dude, you just freaking totally dismissed my question. When it comes to Darren Waller, if I'm a GM, I leave no stone unturned. And that goes with any player, right? No player is safe unless you're Michael Jordan, unless you're basically an untouchable. But Devontae Adams would be in that category for me. He's untouchable. But I would leave no stone unturned. I would do my due diligence and say, hey, look, okay, if Darren Waller is, like, let's say the Green Bay Packers or the Tampa Bay Bucks, those offenses are struggling between the 20s. And we all know how Aaron Rodgers does with a tight end, right? I'm just saying he does really well with the tight end. Same thing with Tom Brady. He's not Rob Gronkowski. The offense is struggling there, right? Yeah, you have Chris Godwin. Yeah, you have Mike Evans. Yeah, you have Russell Gage. Cool story, bro. Julio Jones. Okay. We can name drop household names all we want, but at the end of the day, you don't have that tight end and take away the seam. And that security blanket, that's going to cause a problem. So let's just say Darren Waller is on the trade block. Let's just say. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying hypothetically. And let's say that GM Jason Light, right? Jason Light calls Dave Ziegler, says, hey, we need a tight end. All right. We need a tight end. Is Darren Waller on the market? And Ziegler would be like, oh, we have Cameron Brate already. But he's been injured. Like, oh, so is Darren Waller. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. Oh, yeah, but it's kind of like draft day. Like, no, give me the skinny on him. Give it to me straight. Oh, well, I want to be straight up with you. It's kind of like Moneyball, right? The Moneyball reference with the Cleveland Indians. This is how we do business in Cleveland. Sorry, bro. What are we doing here? What are we doing? No, but if again, leave no stone unturned. That's cliche as it sounds. That's true. If I'm a GM, I'm going to do my due diligence because that's my job, right? Because the moment you let something pass through the waiver wire or pass through whatever the case may be, the trade deadline, like, nah. And then all of a sudden you look back on it and be like, oh, we could have got this for that. And it would have made financial sense long-term. Maybe we should have pulled that deal. So like I said, with Darren Waller, when it comes to, like I said, I'm not saying to trade Darren Waller. I'm not saying that. I like Darren Waller. I think he should be staying in with the Las Vegas Raiders. But at the end of the day, from a GM perspective, you really have to do your due diligence because if you can get good draft capital in return, if you can get like a 3rd-round pick for Darren Waller, then now you have 2 3s and 2 5s, and now you really have draft flexibility because, again, you guys need to understand, and when I say you, I just mean in general, The scouting departments already they're watching LSU, they're watching Alabama, they're watching Auburn, they're watching Clemson, they're watching Georgia, they're watching Tennessee Chattanooga, they're watching all these schools, right, around the country, right? The Big Sky, right? The FCS conference, right? So again, GM Dave Ziegler's at 100% capacity. He's getting all this feedback, 360 degree feedback. And on top of that, he has to stay within the game with the NFL roster that he has because he's presently at Raiders HQ. So again, all these reports are coming through the emails. All these reports are coming here and there and there. That's a lot of legwork to stay on top of. But at the end of the day, GM Dave Ziegler does a really good job. So that's why I wouldn't be surprised if, someone said, is Josh Jacobs going to get traded? I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I wouldn't be surprised. Because again, once we see what the ROI is, which is the return on your investment, we're going to see how that plays out. Then we can praise or criticize GM Dave Ziegler's moves. But I'll be honest with you. GM Dave Ziegler is making power moves. I'm a huge fan of GM Dave Ziegler. I like GM Dave Ziegler. And I said this once he became GM. I was like, this guy is going to be executive of the year in 2 to 3 years' time. You watch. But, oh, man, but the offensive line hasn't done all that. I'm like, bro, come on, dude. An empire wasn't built in a day. Let's not get it twisted, bro. You're only as good as the cards you're dealt. It's like a game of Texas Hold'em. You can't, I want pocket rockets too all the time. I want American Airlines all the time. Okay, give me Siegfried and Roy, which is pocket kings. Okay, cool. Or pocket queens, whatever the case may be, right? Give me Cowboys, right? Give me all these different hands. I don't want ducks. I don't want pocket deuces to start as a starting hand because that's a losing hand if you're going with an 8 queen or something like that, right? 10s and 20s. But let's not get it twisted. When the flop comes out, the hand gets better more times than not. Or you can bluff your way out of the situation, depending on who you're playing. GM Dave Ziegler is very smart. He knows what he's doing. And to be honest with you, I think he fleeced the Minnesota Vikings twice on draft day. I'm just saying. So, GM Dave Ziegler does it really good. Say, hey, man, you want to make a trade? Yeah, sure. And then he called, hey, you want to make another trade? I'm laughing because I think he fleeced the Minnesota Vikings and he did a good job. Fleecing is such a bad word to use, but hey, he got fleeced. Not GM Dave Ziegler. He fleeced the Vikings GM. And it's not Rick Spielman anymore. He's out. It's I can't pronounce his name. Kwesi. I can't pronounce his last name, but yeah. Sean Downey says all these running backs on the roster and Josh is basically playing 9%. Yeah, okay. Getting to this question, I agree with you. I think they should use some type of a running back by committee approach. I think, again, in order to know what you have or what you don't have, you have to give Zeus White his reps, his live game day reps. But do they trust him enough to go ahead and do that? See, that's another formula. So now you have to talk to the positional coaches because that's what Coach McDaniels does. He has these team meetings throughout the week and talks to the positional coaches because the positional coaches, more times than not, if you're a good coach, they have the best intel of that specific player. More times than not, people think it's the offensive coordinator. No, or defensive coordinator. No, it's that positional coach because he's working with them inside and outside, right? And I'm talking cerebrally and mentally and physically because when they go and they watch the film, because again, they get graded on practice videos, they get graded on practice coaches film on game days, they get graded on a lot of different parameters. So when you put that report all together and then you look at it and say, hey, look, okay, is Zeus White ready to play against this team? If we were to give him, let's say 10 to 12, well, let's be honest about it. They're probably talking 4 to 6 carries right now, right? And let's say he does well. Let's say he does well on 3 of those 6 carries. Okay, well, he did better in the first game than he did in the last game. And so let's give him a little bit bigger workload. Oh, but how is he in pass protection is what I'm talking about. Because you don't know that Josh Jacobs kind of struggled a little bit early on in the year too in pass protection, right? Gave up a sack earlier on to the Los Angeles Chargers and Derwin James in my grading system. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to, Sean, to your question, I agree with you. I think they need to go ahead and see what they have in Zeus Dominant White, who describes his game as dominant when I asked him to describe his game in one word. So dominant Zeus White needs to get involved. I do like Josh Jacobs. I think he is so fun to watch. I love Josh Jacobs. I hope they keep Josh Jacobs. GM Dave Ziegler, if you're watching, keep Josh Jacobs. No. Do what you got to do, man. One way or the other. I'm just saying. I'm a huge Josh Jacobs. Maybe because he's and the thing about it is I didn't know he was part Filipino. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's like, oh, you're biased because you're Asian. Someone said that to me. I was like, no, I'm just keeping it 100. Don't matter. But anyways, Daniel Kim says, good vibes Friday. Sorry I'm late. It was my son's birthday and just put him to bed. Oh, happy birthday to your son. How old is your son? Don't say his age because it's going to make me sound really old. Vijay Chuck says, JJ's mom is, oh, is she? Okay. So she's Filipina. Got it. I did not know that. So I thought it was the grandma. Well, someone told me it was the grandma that was Filipina, but then you just told me it was a mom. So he's literally half Filipino. I'm going to ask Josh Jacobs. I meant to ask him today. I could have, but I was having too much fun talking about Alabama running backs. And let me tell you about my Alabama beanie. All right. Like, just FYI, Jarrett Stidham, if you're watching, I am not a bandwagon fan. Okay. Jarrett Stidham was like, he jokes around with me. You know, obviously he played for Auburn. And Derek Carr too. We had a good talk there. But Jarrett says, oh, you're a bandwagon fan. I'm like, no, man. Like, there's a backstory to it. And so I told him the backstory. And then he understands. He's just joking around. But no, there's a backstory to why I like Alabama. I talked about it a little bit earlier on and how my uncle had ALS. And so the family would always be over at the house. And me, I think I was like, 7, 8 years old at the time. And so we would turn on the TV and eat pizza and we would watch Alabama because that's the team that was on. Like, let's not joke around about this. Let's be honest about it. Like, Alabama is a powerhouse team. I'm not saying Auburn is not a powerhouse team, not saying Georgia, but during that time frame, it was Alabama, right? And so kind of like the Dallas Cowboys. I hate to say it, but hate's a strong word. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's just a national televised team. And so they were always on, became a huge Derek Lassick fan. He wasn't very tall. He's short like me. And so I was like, man, this Derek Lassick guy, number 25, can really run with the football. And I had no idea. But then all my uncles and cousins and we're all watching Alabama. And I'm like, man, I kind of like Alabama. Well, that's the only team that's on, and they're killing everyone. So I was like, oh, I like winning. They're winning. Gene Stallings is a good coach. And so that's how he became an Alabama fan. And from that point on, when I started covering the Niners and some of these other teams like the Steelers and so forth, they didn't even know I was an Alabama fan, but the Alabama players just we gravitated toward each other, and that's how we became friends. Quentin Dial, DeAndre White, the list goes on and on and on. So that's how I became a huge Roll Tide Roll fan. But yeah. Andrew Casher says, I am biased as a Raiders fan, not because I'm Asian. Stockton, California says, what's good, brother? You got yourself a subscriber. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. And spread the word to all the other Raider Nation out there, man. It's at 9:57 here on a Friday. What the heck am I doing? I should be out partying. No, I'm joking. I really don't party. Just FYI. I have no life. I'm joking. I do. You know, people talk about work-life balance. This is a true story that I had with my friend last night, Chris, Natividad, if you're watching. So we had a conversation about work-life balance. There's really no work-life balance because to be on the level that we're at, there is no work-life balance. There is work and there's more work. So again, it's kind of like, it doesn't seem like work because I'm passionate about what I'm doing. So I guess that makes it a little bit more acceptable, but let's be honest about it. Like, everyone knows that I hustle and grind 24/7. I don't just do the DOB, by the way, here covering the Las Vegas Raiders. I bodybuild as well. I work out 4 hours a day. You guys know I compete in the National Physique Committee, trying to go for my pro card on Team Ventura, sponsored by EVOGEN. I'm an EVOGEN athlete, of course. You guys know the backstory there, supplement company. It's all in the description box below. Everything's all posted there on Instagram and Fitspiration and being a fitness model and doing this and doing that. Having Bay Area Rooted, my clothing line, Bay Area Rooted LLC. Holla at your boy. So there's like 3 or 4 business and online coaching, personal training. All that comes into play, man. I'm just saying. And I do it all for you guys. So, yeah. Daniel Kim said he got a Raiders hat from me for his birthday, his second one. Oh, man. I want to see that Raiders hat. Daniel Kim. And Daniel Kim's one of my moderators. Thank you so much. I just want to say happy birthday to your son. How old is he, though? You didn't tell me. Oh, how old is... Did you say how old your son is? Oh, you did. My bad. He said he's 6 today. Wow. I'm old. Dang. 6? I'm thinking... Man, I was like in kindergarten or first grade then, right? When were you in kindergarten or first grade at age of 6? My math is horrible. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're all in kindergarten or first grade, right? Definitely not in preschool, right? At age 6. Like, I don't know. I'm so old. I lose track of time. Jesse says my son turns 4 tomorrow. Well, happy birthday to your dang. All your kids, all your kids are turning the ripe age of 4 and 6 and all the single digits. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. I wonder what you guys are getting for now. What are you getting your son for? Better be Raider gear. I'm joking. All right. Mike Crane says, you're going to talk about the Raiders. We've been talking about the Raiders all day, every day in here in this live stream. There's nothing else that we talked about. We talked about Jack Conklin. We talked about GM Dave Ziegler, his draft capital that he got, the 8 draft picks that he has for the 2023 draft, and how he can kind of formulate that and analysis on the NFL trade deadline. So if you're just tuning in right now, let me know your questions, but we pretty much covered a lot of it already as we're in an hour and 10 minutes and 18 seconds and counting. Javi Ramirez says, from Fresno, watched Carr and Adams in college was so electric. Yeah, they were. Dennis says, Beast, I'll be in Vegas in December for the Sparklers game. You got to have a beer with your boy. I'm down. Hey, let's do it. I'll be honest with you. I don't drink beer. I do drink Charles Woodson's Pinot Noir wine called Intercept. So we can go ahead and definitely you can have your beer. I can have my red wine. I'm a Pinot guy. Charles Woodson knows that. So I always support my guy, Charles Woodson, and support his wine. If you guys haven't had Intercept, and I don't know why people, it's bad. It's good. I like it. Javi Ramirez says, you think Graham needs to simplify his defense with the current roster? I feel like he needs one more draft of talent to fit his defense. That's a good question. I don't think, and I don't know the reports or whoever's putting that out there. Look, I talked about this yesterday on the live stream. And again, that's why it's good to follow me. So if you're just tuning in, all my social media is in the description box here on YouTube, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. So if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on any of those social media platforms, you can follow me. I'm just going to go ahead and reiterate that. So if you're on Facebook, you can follow me at Dark Side of BEASTwriter. I have a Facebook page and an exclusive Facebook group. So be sure to go ahead and follow me there and like the page or follow the page, whatever the case may be. And I also have a private Facebook group, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. It's just at BEASTwriter. So be sure to follow me for fitness gains and football because I post both simultaneously. They're dual casting as I do best, multitasking. So again, you guys can follow me there. So again, I'm on all the big social media platforms. Just be sure to follow me on every single one so you don't miss out on anything that I have to say. But no, getting back to your question, talked about this earlier on the live stream yesterday, and we talked about how, in my opinion, I think it's a great idea to make things complicated because, again, we all heard about the KISS method, right? Keep it simple, stupid. But at the end of the day, it's like, nah, man, like if you're financially, I shouldn't say financially, if you're, well, I guess you say financially invested cerebrally, right? And so you have the players that can kind of back up because you have veterans on that roster. You may have to pay a little bit more for these veterans, but if they understand the scheme, like Anthony Averett, like some of these other guys who've been in the L for a very long time, why not mix things up? Because if it's hard enough for the defense and understanding the rules of engagement on their assignment, what do you think the quarterback's thinking? Holy crap. Like, it's like playing blind. Good luck. So, no, I like what Coach Graham's doing. I don't think it's necessarily a drop-off in production from a schematic standpoint. I think it's a drop-off in production in the amount of horses that he has. And that's not taking away from anyone. There's a lot of good players, on that roster. I'm not saying that they don't have a good football team. What I'm saying is, these other teams around the league, they may have one more good player, right? Like, let's talk about the pass rush. Like, the pass rush has been an issue. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, the pass rush is great when it's really not. Like, it's not. But Chandler Jones has come on in his last 3 games in my grading system. So he picked up half a sack last game. And I said on my earlier live streams, right? On the bye week, I said Chandler Jones is going to have 4 to 5 sacks in the next 6 to 7 game span. And everyone's going to go crickets. Everyone's calling for his head now, but they're going to turn crickets. And so that's what we're seeing. We're going to see it this week. I guarantee it. Chandler Jones will pick up a sack this week. At least one. I guarantee it. Now watch me be wrong. Mike Crane says, I got here about 5 to 10 minutes ago. You're okay. You're good, man. He says, we gave up 25 points per game last year and 25 points per game this year. Yeah, that's very true. But then again, when you look at it, again, when you look at scoring defense is scoring defense, and the numbers do paint a picture of a story. But at the end of the day, if you look at how the game's being played out, those numbers can be skewed a little bit, right? And so that's why, again, who they faced so far? They faced the Chargers and the Chiefs. That's two teams right there, right off the top of my head. That's like, man, those guys can put up points, right? But then you face a team like the Texans, like, okay, so then it evens out, and you look at the DVO, defense adjusted value over average, and say, okay, well, exactly what it is. But when you play in the AFC West and you have the Chargers and the Chiefs there, I mean, you're looking at a 30-point ball game no matter which way you swing it. And then it comes down from there. So that's why the over-under in Vegas is always around 52, 53. It could be 51 and a half, depending on where they're playing. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a high point spread. And it's a high point spread and a high total for a reason. Just saying. Salvador Bruno, I hope that makes sense. Salvador Bruno, would you trade Abrams for a 5th and 6th round pick? What about Cleve worth a 7th? Would I trade Abrams for a 5th or 6th round pick? That is a great question. And I think I wouldn't be opposed to it because, again, if you get a guy in an expiring contract, and I don't know what GM Dave Ziegler is thinking, but if you're getting a guy in an expiring contract and there's no way he's coming back anyways, why not get something in return? And now you have 3 5th-round picks to work with, right? Because you already have 2 because they got one from Brian Edwards' trade. And so when you look at that, and then you look at what Dave Ziegler did last year, well, technically it's this year, but last year with Neil Farrell trading up to go ahead and get Neil Farrell, why not go ahead and go that route? And so, no, I wouldn't be opposed to it because I really like Duron Harmon. I think Duron Harmon should be starting. It should be it could be Trevon Merrick and Duron Harmon. Like I would be, if you were to ask me, I think Duron Harmon is the best safety on the team. I think Duron Harmon's the best safety on the team. Now we're talking about strong safety or free safety. If you want to talk about strong safety, there's no one better than Jonathan Abram. I think he's the best strong safety on the team. But if you're just talking about interchangeable safeties, like we talked about, and guys who can line up in the multiple positions, like I talked to Coach McDaniels about it earlier today, we talk about those things, right? We talk about the safety position and what that means and how that can kind of transform a defensive scheme. And so, again, Jonathan Abram, to me, if you're not going to keep him next year or you have no intention of re-signing him next year, why not get draft capital in return? Because at the end of the day, 6 games in, right, going on 7, how many games is it worth the sample size to pull from keeping a guy with 11 weeks into the season, even if you're in a deep playoff run? Because, again, you still have Duron Harmon back there, and you can roll with Trevon Merrick and Duron Harmon on the back end, and you never know. They still have guys on the practice squad. Why not give Isaiah Polamau a chance, right? Bring him up from the practice squad. They still have horses, that 16-player practice squad, man, right? People tend to forget there's still a thing called the 16-player practice squad that you guys can bring up. So, again, in order to see what you have or don't have, you have to give these guys live action. So that's all I got to say about that. But no, I would definitely do that. Daniel Kim said, I jumped on too late. I'll listen to the run back with regards to rumors. Oh, no, you're good, man. You can look, we're on here. So I don't expect everyone to tune in right away, but I do expect you guys to like it. There's 32 of you guys right now. Just give it a thumbs up so the YouTube algorithm will hit. And it will recommend this video to other Raider Nation like yourself, because that's how we're going to grow. And that's the way we're going to do it here in the DOB. And share it on all your social media. All you guys are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, live stream, everything. I don't know what else you guys are. Is there any other social media platform on Discord? Who uses Discord? Oh, hell, the people use Discord, bro. There's so many social media platforms, it's hard to keep up. But I'm on the big ones. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. That's pretty much it. Just those. And it's in the description box below here on YouTube. So again, if you're following on all those social media platforms that are already on those social media platforms that I just mentioned, and you would like to follow me on those other social media platforms because you're already downloaded that app on your cell phone, be sure to do so. It's in the description box below here on YouTube. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe in the lower right-hand corner of the screen so you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. Just be sure to turn on and flip on the bell notification so you get notified when we go live or when we upload content. All right. So this Daniel Kim's Discord's annoying. So many posts. Yeah, Discord is annoying. I get annoyed, and it's my own Discord. That's how annoying it is. And people are like, oh, you need to be on Discord. I'm like, I hate Discord. Hate Discord. Discord is dysfunction. I'm joking. Joking, not joking. Phil Romero says, are we keeping Klee after all? He's playing a little bit better. Look, I like Klee Farrell. I do. Like, this is my first year covering the Las Vegas Raiders. Look, I'm going to point something out. I don't know if anyone else talked about this, but this is some inside information just from the Raiders headquarters and from what I'm seeing, what I'm observing. Look, let me tell you something. Klee Farrell, there's a reason why he was a team captain. There's a reason why Mike Mayock regime drafted him number 4 overall. I'm not saying they should have, because I highly criticized the pick in real time. I thought they should have went after Devin White, but they went after Klee Farrell. Cool story. When they could have had him in the late 20s, but they got him. Okay. But I can see why, from a leadership standpoint, people don't talk about this, but, or that I know of, but every time I step foot inside the locker room, I go toward the backs. Because that's where Klee Farrell's locker is. And he's talking to Matthew Butler, the rookie out of Tennessee. And he's really trying to teach him the game. I can just see this from a distance based on body language. I'm not going up there trying to like eavesdrop or anything, but you can see from afar, they're talking about football. They're not shooting the crap about like ping pong or anything like that. They're actually talking about the game of football. Like, hey, like you can tell them, like, hey, you can tell, like if you play the game or if you know the game, you can kind of tell it's like common sense. But no, he takes him under his wing and they talk after every practice. And I think it's really, really encouraging to see, because you don't see that very often. You don't see a guy trying to help another guy, especially if you're on the outside looking in and you're rumored to be traded by ESPN Jeremy Fowler. We're like, I got to be honest. If I was Klee Farrell, I'd be like, man, I'm on my way out anyways. I'm not going to help anyone here. I could have a crappy attitude, but no, right? Because that's not the Raider way, right? Like, it's hard enough producing on the football field. It's harder when your job's on the line. Like, we all have jobs. We all have to make a living some way, somehow, right? And so, like, when you see a guy like Klee Farrell who takes on that initiative from a leadership standpoint, when he really doesn't need to, he doesn't have to train Matthew Butler, give him the mental reps on what to do and what not to do, because odds are he's not going to return next year anyways. And if he is, that's a crapshoot at Beast. It's a crapshoot at Beast at best. So that's all I got to say about that. I think Klee Farrell's a great guy, great person. I really come to enjoy Klee Farrell. True professional. That's all I'm going to say about that. True professional. And he is coming on. Like, if you watch the sample size to pull from, number 99 is coming on in my grading system. So he's doing it on the field in the sample size that he's pulled from. And Coach McDaniels talks about it, making the most of your limited opportunities. We talked about it throughout training camp and preseason. And so whatever coach says, you have to really read between the lines on what he's trying to accomplish. And that's why I talk about the mental reps. Say, hey, man, I see some of these guys taking mental reps. Is that something that, like, do you see the same things that I'm seeing from a media standpoint, in that these guys are taking mental reps to really focus and fine tune and paying attention in details, when they really, to be honest with you, they don't have to. Like, they have to, but they don't have to, if that makes sense. Because what you do in the dark comes to light, right? But at the end of the day, it's like these guys are doing it the right way and they're paying attention. It's like in class, right? If you're sitting in the back room and you're just goofing off, coach ain't gonna care about you. Teacher ain't gonna care about you. Okay, you don't care. That's your fault if you're not gonna pass the class or not. But every one of these players, man, you want to talk about embodies the Raider way. That's the Raider way. That's the cultural identity of the team. And so that's why I think this team is on the right trajectory of moving forward. Because again, when you have a coaching staff like this, when you have a management perspective like this, when you have personnel like this who are doing all the right things from the top down, everything is synergistically in line. That's where you're going to have future success. And that's why the Raider Nation really needs to take it for what it really is. And unless you're there, like I am, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, you're not going to see these things. And that's why you really have to, I don't know how else to say this. If you're not there 9 to 5, and I don't know who, like, I'm just saying, you choose to follow who you want to follow. You only can have so many people to follow, but if it was up to me, I'd want to follow the people who are there like every single day, or at least the majority of the week, right? Like that's just how, because that's where you're going to get the most information. How are you going to report something if you're not there? How are you going to know about something, or how am I going to answer these questions if I'm not there? Like, I'm just keeping it 100. Like, I wouldn't want to follow someone who's not there. So that's why when people say, oh, no, that's not true, or not to me, but I'm just saying, like, when other people, it's like, nah, man, like, who is this guy? He's not even there. Jamie says that sounds like Clay has integrity. That's leadership. It is, man. It is. And I'm a huge Cleveland Farrell fan. When I talk about a fan, I'm talking about a person, right? Like professionally, both on and off the football field. When I talk about, I'm a huge fan of his because, again, there's jerks. I work with jerks all the time. Some of these players are jerks, not on the Raiders, but on other teams that I covered, Niners, right? Like, on every team, there's jerks. I mean, and the Raiders could have some jerks too. I just haven't met them yet. But I'm just saying, like, there's always those people that just think that they're higher or they feel entitled or whatever. Clee could have felt entitled. It's like, hey, man, I'm the number 4th overall pick in the draft. I'm, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But he's not that way. He never, he's very humble. He does things the right way. He's very coachable. And at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for. If you don't have a player who's coachable, he's going to be a toxic to that locker room dynamic. I've seen it before. And it doesn't matter how good you are, because if you think that you're better than the team, see ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Kevin Lurka says, sorry, I'm tardy, sir. Who do you think should be playing right tackle? Jack Conklin. I talked about Jack Conklin. I think they should trade for Jack Conklin. That's my guy. I think they should trade for Jack Conklin. I like Jack Conklin. It should be Jack Conklin. No. I like Thayer Munford. I like Jermaine Illuminor. I like both those guys. So based on who they have at the current roster, I'd be happy with either one, although I would lean toward Thayer Munford simply because they drafted him for a reason. And again, in order to know what you have moving forward, you have to see what you have today, right? So how are you going to assess the roster if you're not giving the guy live reps? And I talked this specifically with Thayer Munford on taking those live reps because this is a good thing, right? So again, this is why I do these player coach interviews, again, so we can go ahead and hop on the live stream and talk about this, right? I'm not shooting crap up your butt, but let's just keep it 100. I talked to Thayer Munford, and I say, hey, man, you're looking really good in training camp. Now that you got your first game under your belt, this is a few weeks back, right? What is your self-scouting report? It's like, oh, man, I definitely learned something. It's not the same as training camp because in training camp, when you go up against Max Crosby, cool story, bro, but they kind of let up because it is training camp. When you're getting live NFL reps, it's a different ball game because they're commanding you 110%. And that conversion to speed to power ain't the same as in college. Just keeping it 100, man. Just keeping 100. But, yeah, Mike Crane says, can't got to quit fumbling and how it is that Renfro is not. Boogie says, bro, telling the YouTubers to stay in their lane. Nah, man, I'm not trying to tell YouTubers to stay in their lane. Look, YouTubers do a really good job on their stuff too. I'm a YouTuber myself, so whatever. I'm in the same category. I'm just saying, like someone asked me the other day, it's like, oh, who should I cover or who should I follow? And I said, if it was me, and again, you guys can formulate your own analysis on this. You guys can follow whoever you want. If it was me, I'd want to follow someone who's there. That's all I'm saying. I'm not throwing shade. That's just my opinion. No, that's not to say I wouldn't follow someone who's not there because I still would follow some of those guys because those guys do a really good job. But there's only a handful of those, right? There's only a handful of those. Let's keep it 100. But no, everybody does a good job. Nah, I shouldn't say that. That's a lie. There's some people who do really bad jobs. Mike Crane, I'm one of them. I'm horrible at my job. Mike Crane says, Carr's got to quit fumbling. How is it that Renfro is not getting the ball on third down anymore, double covered? That's a good question. I think that's a loaded question. I think a lot of the talk has been dictated on the coverage and the two split safety high looks that you're seeing with a lot of underneath coverage. Now, a lot of these defensive coordinators are taking away the seams, taking away those underneath routes on those short, shallow crossing patterns. So again, those rub routes that we discussed, it really puts a lot of effort on the boundary cornerback to kind of play off coverage and kind of play what's called a sink and swim. And so there's a lot of different techniques that you can kind of go off of that. So I think when you run the two high safety shell that majority of these defensive coordinators are trying to run, it's really going to put a lot of pressure, right? It's going to put a lot of pressure on the underneath routes. And so that's where Hunter Renfrow does a lot of his work underneath, right? And so when Darren Waller runs down the seam and Devontae Adams runs down the seam, and let's say it's a 3-by-1 trips formation to the right, and it puts that safety to a decision, well, you still have those 4 underneath defenders. Or let's say in this case, it's a cover 2, then you have 5 underneath defenders, right? Because you have 2 boundary cornerbacks playing the flats. So a lot of stuff. There's not much to work with. It's like if you're playing in the game of basketball and you're the focal point of the offense and everyone's trying to just play box and one, well, good luck. If they're playing a box and one against you, it's like playing 4 against 1, and you're not going to win that battle. I'm just saying, man. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the Las Vegas Raiders. I like talking about the Las Vegas Raiders, but if you haven't noticed, I love talking about Las Vegas Raiders. And here we are on 10-19. And to be honest with you, my battery's about to die. I think I'm at 21% right now. Rich Vitale says, or Vital, like Dick Vital. If these coaches are any good, they already know what we absolutely need: a real defensive tackle. That's true. I mean, you know what? I like Bilal Nichols and I like Andrew Billings as a 2-down run stuffer. If you're looking for a double-digit sack artist, yeah, you can go after and say, I need a true 3 technique who can kind of rush the passer from the interior, push the pocket, and give Max Crosby help. Because, again, if you look at it and you talk to some of these quarterbacks around the league, right? I'm not going to name the quarterbacks, but there's some great Hall of Fame quarterbacks that I spoke with in the past. And they told me, hey, Beast, like, when I asked them the question, I say, do you prefer being pressured off the edge or being pressured up the middle? And this one Hall of Fame quarterback said, you know what? He's like, ha, ha, ha. He's like, I don't want to be pressured at all. And I said, no, ha, ha. Cool story. Like, no. Give me the straight answer, because different quarterbacks have different variations of exactly what kind of pressure they want, right? Some mobile quarterbacks maybe want that outside pressure because then they can use that reverse pivot, right? And now they're out in open space with a lot of real estate to work with. So it's like, oh, okay, I see your point. So he just gave it straight up. He's like, an interior rusher from the interior is much harder for him as a quarterback, because when you push the pocket from the interior, you're caging him in. If you're thinking of setting the edge, right? And you talk about Coach Graham caging the quarterback, right? From the edges. But if you cage him inside and you flush him outside to the help, which is the edge already sitting there, who's basically what's called in home base, because he's already trying to set the edge, the quarterback's just going to run right to them. And then who gets credit for the sack? The edge gets the sack, but who created the pressure? The interior rusher. So I think the interior rusher, defensive tackle, 3 tech, double-digit sack artist, if you can get it, you get it. But how many of those guys can rush from the interior at a consistent basis and still be double teamed playing that 3 technique? Because more times than not only are they playing the 3 technique, trying to one gap into the backfield, but they also have to be sound in run fit integrity, because you're leaving that second level backer to dry if you have to do a gap and replace. So it goes hand in hand. I'm just not looking for a double-digit sack artist. I'm looking for that guy who can multiply and be that dual threat ability in both the run and the pass and be equally effective at both. Because it doesn't matter if you get down to a passing down if you can't stop the run. I'm just speaking facts. Look, Javi says, felt this team could have caved in after the slow start, but it seems like they believe in each other. How's the vibe around the locker room? Look, the vibe is the same as it was in training camp, and I'm saying the vibe has not changed, and that's a good thing. Consistency is key in the NFL. Consistency is key from the management perspective, top down. And you're seeing it. You're seeing the same exact things. And now that they're winning, now that they won one game and coming off a bye week and so forth, and be like, oh man, like, how's the vibe changed? No, it's not changed. Anyone who says it changed, they ain't there. They don't know what the heck they're talking. The vibe has not changed. Okay, yeah, you win a game, it's going to have some kind of moral aspect to it in terms of, yeah, okay, we got that. Sigh of relief. We got that first one under our belt. But from a schematic standpoint, from a preaching standpoint, from a teaching standpoint, from a fundamental standpoint, everything is the same. Everything is the same. And that's a good thing. I would want that as a player. I don't want things to get too high or too low. Let's stay even keel, because it's a marathon, not a sprint. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm just going to do this from now on. No, but it's funny. All right. So Daniel Kim says, seriously, Beast, Sapp and Donald are one of ones, but we do need something to push the pocket. That I agree with you 110%. I think you need a pocket pusher to create rush from the interior on first and second downs, to create those third and long situations, and maybe make those third down efficiencies rates a little bit better for you from a defensive standpoint. The fact remains to be seen when you look around the league, as I do, and I run these grades, a lot of these teams are having the same problems, right? And so how many, like you said, how many Aaron Donalds, how many Warren Sapps, how many Leroy Glovers are there out there, right? There's not too many of those guys out there. And so again, if you're running the grades like I do, and then you look around the league, let me just pull it up for you guys. I have grades, man. I do the research. Let me just get this for you because I got it. I got you guys covered. All right, so let's just go ahead. It's loading right now. There's a lot of data here. All right, like Cam Hayward, right? Cam Hayward plays in the 34 base, but he's listed as a defensive end, but he could be a defensive tackle, right? Lines up at the 4, right? The 4 technique, which is straight up on the offensive tackle, can line up at the 3, can line up as a 2-eye, can line up at nose, right? So he's lined up all over, can play the piano along the defensive line. But Cam Hayward, a pure pocket pusher. Jeffrey Simmons from the Tennessee Titans, pure pocket pusher. Grady Jarrett from the Atlanta Falcons, good pocket pusher. Jonathan Allen, talk about the Washington football team, or now the Washington Commanders. Good pocket pusher, number 93. Throwback face mask with that bar going across this way. Love it. Roll Tide roll. And then you look at guys like Chris Jones, right? So Chris Jones, in my opinion, he's a one-trick pony. He's a little overrated, right? He's good in run fit. No, take that back. Because I'm dyslexic, I just mixed up. No, he's good as a pass rush specialist. He suffers as a run fit integrity guy. So again, you got to be able to do both. And that's why he grades very poorly in my grading system. Well, right now he's graded pretty well. He's graded at 6.3 going into week 8. But at the end of the day, which is near Pro Bowl level. But, I mean, that's kind of probably going to even out because he does give up a lot in run fits in my grading system. But then you look at guys like Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave. These guys are pocket pushers from the interior. Now, the question remains to be seen when you talk about these guys, like, okay, what's the pressure rate, right? And how many of these pressures are going to result in sacks? How many of these pressures going to result in losses of down and positive play for the defense? I mean, these are things that you have to look for, and that's where the analytics come into play. There's not too many of those pocket pushers from the interior. And again, if you take on the double teams, all those guys that I just mentioned can take on those double teams and win. You know, Coach Graham talks about winning your one-on-one battles, but how about winning your two-on-one battles? I mean, that creates one-on-ones and possibly one-on-zeros. But if you're playing the numbers game and you're blitzing off the edge from a slot cornerback or whatever the case may be, and that creates a mismatch. But how many of those are there really in the league? There's not too many. Daniel Kidd said, who would be your number one free agent target based on need and scheme fit? Jack Conklin. Jack Conklin's the guy. I already did the research on this. Graded Jack Conklin. He's a first-team All-Pro in my grading system, and that's why he got my vote. He received my vote for first-team All-Pro as part of the member of the Pro Football Writers Association, and that's why he got my vote the last 2 years. So Jack Conklin, for me, is a guy. Now, you're going to have to give him $18 million APY, as we spoke about earlier, because obviously you want to talk about Lane Johnson, Taylor Moton, or Moton, however you want to say his name, money. But yeah, you look at guys around the league and what they're doing, and their age factor comes into play, obviously. And you look at guys like that and say, hey, look, is this guy worth it? Of course he's worth it. I mean, look at the Cleveland Browns. There's a reason why Nick Chubb is having success, right? Obviously, he's a top running back in the NFL, right? Top 5, arguably. But you cannot have future success without a stable offensive line. And again, when you have Wyatt Tiller there, Joel Bitonio, who's also great at a first-team All-Pro level in my grading system, got my vote, obviously, last few years, actually. You know, him going up against Cam Hayward, you want to talk about a 1A versus 1A matchup. That's one hell of a matchup. Just like everybody talks about Quentin Nelson, right? From the Indianapolis Colts, you know, and Quentin Nelson going up against a guy like Jeffrey Simmons. That's a 1A versus a 1A. You want to see that. It's kind of like in college, right? You want to see a Power 5 guy go up against a Power 5 guy. Like, oh man, like this is an NFL matchup to watch now. We don't have to project. This is the matchup, right? Just like a wide receiver in a DB. Pat Surtain going up against, you know, Jamar Chase or whoever the case may be. So, and if you guys want to go back to COVID 2020, I tweeted that out. I said, Scout's going to love this matchup. All right. So there you have it. But I think we're going to go ahead and end this live stream. We've been on for 1 hour and 38 minutes. Thank you everyone for tuning in to this Pick 6 live stream that I did on the late night special here on this Aloha Friday. I am happy that you guys tuned in. Again, without you guys here, I wouldn't be in the position I am today. Salvador Bruin says, Beast, in 2018 draft, how did you grade Mike McGlinchey versus Colton Miller? Colton proved the pundit wrong. Raiders, I believe, won the coin toss. Look, I actually talked to John Lynch about this in my pre-draft analysis in the 49ers war room, and I asked him to grade how many Pro Bowl players he had on his grading system. Go check that out. It's on my YouTube live stream. It's also not YouTube live stream. It's on my YouTube channel here in the DOB. It's also on my Instagram. And he said he had 12 to 15 players. 12 to 15 players with Pro Bowl grades. And I was like, man, watch. They're going to draft Mike McGlinchey, who I don't even have as a Pro Bowl grade. They drafted Mike McGlinchey. And here we are today. Interesting. Interesting. Boom. Checking off another Beast receipt. Holla at your boy. Duke. Joking. Mike Crane says, you sound informed with the X's and O's. So what would you do different in the red zone offensively? Too many field goals instead of touchdowns. Pretty sure we are number one in field goals, but I could be wrong. Look, X's and O's are my thing. PG says it's my thing. PG from ESPN, that's my guy. But we talk about this all the time, right? We talk about the X's and O's and how that plays a role in the game of football. For me to go on and say they need to do this, that's so out of my league because I don't get paid millions of dollars to make those decisions. With that being said, I think execution-wise, I always say this, coaches coach and players play. I can put players in the best position to make plays, but it's up to those players to make those catches. Look, if you look at the red zone efficiency and you look at the routes being ran, and you look at the coach's film, all those plays that are being dialed up are pretty much dialed in. And no coach, let me just go on and say this because I used to coach. No coach is going to throw his players under the bus and be like, oh, that's on the players. And I made the right call. That's on the players. Coach McDowell's will never say that. One, you will lose that locker room real quick. Ron Rivera. If you don't get that reference, you'll know. But no coach in their right mind, if you're a good coach, I'm not saying Ron Rivera is not a good coach. He's a good coach, but I'm just saying that was a mistake on his part. In my opinion. I like Ron Rivera. I think he's one of the better coaches in the NFL, but you never want to throw your players under the bus because you lose respect. Like the players will lose respect for you. So again, I'm just going to go out and say it because from a coaching perspective, this is how I see it. And this is what I see when, you call about the X's and O's. Look, the scheme that's being ran is perfect. Just joking. It's not perfect. There's nothing perfect, but it's dialed in. And I think the players have to execute those plays. Right. That's just how I see this. But all right, that's going to end this live stream. And again, thank you everyone for tuning in. And again, if you're on this YouTube live stream right now, do me a solid, give it a thumbs up. There's 31 of you watching simultaneously. That is a new record. I'm joking. It's not, but it's a good, to be honest with you, that's a pretty good number for a Friday at 10:31 p.m. So give it a thumbs up, and that way I'll recommend this video to other Raider Nation. That's how we're going to grow the Dark Side of BEASTwriter family here in the DOB. And so, again, people want to know how they can support. Just do that. Just go ahead and like the video. Give it a thumbs up. It's free. And then also, if you don't mind, share it. And if you like the content, share it on your Facebook pages. Share it on YouTube. Share it on Twitter. Share it on other social media outlets, because again, that's how we're going to grow here in the DOB. And then the bigger we get, the bigger prizes we can provide you guys. So again, thank you everyone for tuning in. I had a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun, because at the end of the day, it should be fun. If it's not fun, then what the heck are we doing here in the DOB? It should be fun, right? Just saying, it should be fun. But no, thank you so much, man. I appreciate all your love and support. You guys have been nothing but awesome here on YouTube. And again, I wouldn't be here without you guys in my corner. Thank you again, everyone. Words can't express, the Raider Nation love that I have for you guys and that you guys have for me here in the DOB. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Stay blessed. Have a good night. And that's it for today. Check care. Have a good night. BEASTwriter out.